Hey, it's Adam here, and you're watching The Culture Hack, where we're talking about how to create engaged workspaces that unlock the potential of your teams and drive your business forward in ways you've never seen. So stay tuned. Kevin Parton, welcome to The Culture Hack. So glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me here today. Excited.
You are, of course, a partner and financial planner at Vela Wealth, which is super exciting. So tell me a little bit about your journey and Vela Wealth.
Yeah, so I guess my journey started in finance 15 plus years ago. And previous to that, I've just sort of had this fascination with human behavior, psychology, and its relationship to money. Money, whether you like it or not, is kind of a tool and at the core of a lot of what we do. But everybody has this sort of different relationship with money, how they talk about it, what they think it's capable of doing, and then there's the technical side of that, which is like how do you earn it and where do you put it and what does that look like, and then there's the psychological side to that, which is how do you relate to it and how does it impact and influence your behavior, and oftentimes people get very confronted with it, and so there are two very distinct parts. But yeah, so I recognize that to be true before I could put words to it. Then got introduced to the business through a friend's father in an administrative role. And at the time, because I'm a millennial, so I could take his numbers and put them into fancy PowerPoint presentations. So that was my transferable skill. And then in doing that for a year, I really recognized how it all came together. So for the last 15 years, I've been learning the technical side, which is important, obviously, in this role, but really honing communication, interpersonal skills, understanding human behavior, and a coaching aspect of the business, so that as I'm communicating with people, I'm able to help them figure out what it is that they actually want at the core of things. How do you ask questions? How do you engage? How do you get people to sort of dive deep into what's important to them and reflect on some of these things? And then how do you take their ability to earn money and turn that into using the tool as a means to an end rather than the end itself? People get so caught up in the chase of trying to get to that one day, they often forget what it was they were chasing in the first place, or goal begets another goal, and they never really arrive at that destination. So it's really sort of bringing it all together and helping people build what it is that they want to build. And so I did that in one place for 13 years, decided I was in more sort of a larger corporate national structured environment, and I wanted to have my go at the entrepreneurial landscape. And so found two amazing financial planners building a firm for the last 14 years at Vela Wealth, and jumped on board that ship with them to help take it a little bit further. And so here I am, financial planner and partner at the firm, a firm of entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, so that we not only can help advise you in the financial side of life, but we understand what it's like to run the business you're running and tie it all together.
I love the angle of psychology, because admittedly, I don't have a lot of financial planners on this show.
Yeah.
But when we started talking about, the psychology and coaching, it's like you're taking the regular financial experience and adding on a whole new dimension of coaching to it, and experience. And that's very analogous to, when we talk about organizations and culture and human behavior and all this kind of stuff. So I was pretty excited, and it's like, oh yeah, let's get onto it. So the regular financial experience is really about the back end. You come to somebody and say, I have assets and I have money. And then you say, well, okay, we're going to invest it here, here, and here. Give me your money, and I will promise I will give you a return in exchange for a fee. Right?
That's generally what people experience, is like, I'll give you
Yeah,
back more than you gave me, and you decide if that's enough or what you want to do with it, or if you're happy with me, or and it's up to you to decide all of those things on your own. But I'll give you back more money than you started with.
exactly. Right. But you're saying, hey, like, what about this whole front end part with how people earn money and how they think about money? And, why can't we combine these things? Why can't we coach people and get them thinking about money and their future, and, understanding, maybe a bigger vision, or playing field, something like that. Is that right?
It very much so. I mean, I really started. I pursued personal development and education in a very sort of intentional way. And I've learned that the best ROI, return on investment, for me was always in self-development, in either building my business, in hiring mentors, coaches, in investing in my personal health, relationship counseling. There's all these things that improve me as a human across the board that invariably have then come back and directly or indirectly impacted my ability to earn money or how I relate to it. And so I become wealthier, not just because of the tools I use, but the way I go about life. And so it's sort of teaching that on the other side and recognizing that there's all of these specialists in different areas. You've got coaches, you've got business consultants, you've got, people who work within your business, people who work in your personal life, but rarely is anyone really looking at the big picture and able to tie it all together. And so I've found myself creating a little bit of a niche, but in a particular space with people where I can say, I'm advising you on wealth, not the tools you use, but how you relate to it and how it grows. And so if there's an area in your life from personal health to physical health to your business where that's going to move the needle the most, then that's where the advice ought to be and bringing people in. And I think that's just my own spin on it. Is my job is to help people, as I describe it, become wealthier by, not to say any means necessary in a bad way, but by the means that's best going to support them in doing that. And sometimes it's unorthodox advice, like, you're really killing yourself at work here, but you're not showing up for your family. So you should seek out some sort of counseling, or like take a vacation and spend some time with your kids. And lo and behold, that's going to really make you feel more fulfilled. And you're going to then show up to work feeling more energized and ready to sort of commit more. And that's going to lead to better income. And so it's these sort of roundabout ways. But that's the idea, is that through those different tools or looking at things holistically, the outcome is better. And by and large, my industry is really predicated on making people rich, not for any particular reason, but just that's the metric of success. Have I made you more money? And you probably experience, as much as anybody else who lives a life or watches TV, that money does not equate to happiness. In fact, quite often the opposite. The more you pursue money as the end versus the means to an end, the emptier you feel. And it can actually limit how you earn, right? If you are really good at earning money, but you're burnt out, you spend to try and make yourself feel whole for what you're doing. So then you actually spend money on trivial things, or you don't feel inclined to want to keep it. So ultimately the core is, if you can be really, really content, grounded and sound and happy in how you're earning it, you're showing up doing the thing that you love, you're doing it the way that you love, you will in fact make more money over time. It may take a little bit, but in doing that, you actually spend less of it on things that don't matter to you. You're clear on your values. You're clear on what you do. You're energized by what you're doing to earn. So there's actually more money left over than what you were doing before. And you have less of an inclination to want to spend that money that you're accumulating, again, on things that aren't meaningful. Big picture, long-term vision is everybody who's entrepreneurial has the ability to earn a lot of money, much of which they'll never spend in their lifetime. So if I can help people reach their potential of earning and accumulate as much as possible and make a goal of theirs to leave a legacy, I can create a lot of philanthropists, people who want to give back. And whether to their family, to their community, or by and large around the world, there's a lot of an opportunity to create pretty big transformation through this mechanism. So that's my motivator, is rather than just let's make people rich for the sake of making them rich and then help them run around and figure out what to do with their money. Let's teach them how to live better, earn more, and then find more fulfillment in wealth through the impact they can create around them.
See, this is why I was excited talking to you, because when we started into solutions, our vision or our purpose was basically the exact same thing, but just for organizations.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same. Better world through business. How can we help make, in our case, businesses more wealth, so that they'll give back and people will be happier, and so on and so forth. Right?
Exactly it.
And what I liked, as an entrepreneur talking to you is, you said, "Hey, Adam, like what are your businesses? Tell me about them." And I said, "Oh, well, I have two businesses. One's consulting and one's media." And you were like, "Oh, I get it. You use the media as kind of low-hanging fruit to try and attract people, and then you get to know them and develop some trust, and then you partner with them on the consulting services." And I was like, "Yes, thank you." Right? You do in like 3 seconds, exactly what, where my head was at, and what I was thinking. And it took me like 5 years to develop that scheme, right?
Yeah.
So
That's funny. You
clearly
gotta
you've
live,
been around entrepreneurs, right?
which is the idea. And working with people like you is key, because like I said, I have seen a lot as far as like I'll have a conversation with somebody and in an hour figure out, the 10 things that they're struggling with and what the biggest pain points are and what'll move the needle. But I am able to help them with, again, just as far as financial planning, creating a plan and strategic path forward, and then managing their money in portfolios and risk management or insurance. But everything else that they're dealing with, from real estate to law to accounting to their business, are not areas I specialize in. So it's knowing people like you who are good at what they do, who want to go in there and help have that impact. And so it's pulling them all together. And it's this sort of concept that I sort of coined a little bit, but it's called your fractional family office,
Hmm.
which is the wealthiest people in the world have the resources to hire a team of 15 people to help them full time with managing their wealth or developing them. A segment we're going to teach you how to be a philanthropist and how to leave a legacy and how to have conversations with your family. And there's counseling and everything in there. And then you've got your health team, and then you've got your wealth team and your business team. Well, if you don't have $100 million, as many people don't, how do you do that? Well, you have fractional family office. And so you have the people who you need for all the different moving parts of your business. And then they come in and they fill those spots on a fractional basis. But you can now replicate what people are doing. And that, I think, is it. It's just understanding business enough and people's lives enough to say, here are the moving parts. Here are the people the positions that the people hold who would help you. And then further to that, here is someone in that position who is pre-vetted, who should come in. And I just start to try and build these teams around people so that they can elevate themselves in a meaningful way.
Do you have any examples that come to mind of times where you've had a client that's had a certain issue and you've made a connection or done something that's been really great for them?
Yeah, there's two right now that I'm actively working on. So those just come to mind right away. There's parents they're the second generation owners of a business, and the one of two daughters is a longtime client of mine and her husband, and they've been running the business for a couple years but not owning it. And so there's just been the family dynamic of transferring the ownership and the legacy and what that looks like. So they've kind of been a little bit of an impasse where the business is operating, but they haven't really been able to come to the table and discuss exactly what it would mean to transfer hands. And it's been all rather overwhelming. And so what I've done more recently is met with the parents, discussed kind of what are all the moving parts and what are the most important things. And then we're going to go for dinner and have a conversation between the parents and the kids about what each of them wants out of this. And so once they can kind of see eye to eye on what the value of the business is and what each of them really wants most out of it, then they can separate and we can work on building a plan that allows them to move towards that. So from the kids' perspective, how do we get the right financing in order? So introduce them to the people who can help them organize getting financing, building a business plan, going to the banks if necessary, and effectively preparing to purchase a business, and then bringing that to mom and dad. Say, we want to buy this to you, and here are the three ways we can do it. And then from mom and dad's perspective, it's okay, you're going to be selling this business and you know what's important to you. But once you come into this money, what kind of life do you live after that? You now don't have a business, so you've got extra time. You've got all of this money that you didn't have because you've gotten your value out of the business, and you may not spend it likely in your lifetime. So what kind of legacy do you want to leave? And so it's getting them to the table enough to have the conversation, building the trust, and then saying, okay, I need a tax specialist to come in. We need legal to help with the transaction. We need a business valuator to come in. We need a new accountant perhaps to look through things and help on the other side. So there's all these people who have to come in to do different parts. So it's the soft stuff of just getting them to talk about it and figure out what's important to them and what's been holding them up, understanding how the whole thing works and bringing in the people to complete the transaction, and then work with each of them individually outside of that to make sure that they're doing what they need to do to buy, they're doing what they need to do to sell. And then once it's done, okay, now you're on your own, separate of the business, and then we continue to work together going forward. And so that's kind of one case where we're doing that. And so I'm sort of helping navigate, as I refer to it as a quarterback, right? I've just got specialists I'm throwing the ball to all the time and not trying to be them, but know exactly where it should go. And then another case, there's a couple I met and they run a wholesale food business, but also have some grocery stores and a food line. And they've grown that business exponentially over a decade, but they're working 16 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, and it is killing them. And so they continue to grow and are doing whatever they can to make it grow. And so I thought, well, the biggest area we can improve is leadership skills. How do we get you to think like a CEO rather than what you're doing now? Put in place all of the things you would need for systems, for organizational structure, to create sort of more of a distance, more of an oversight of the business. And then buy back some of your time so you can have a little bit of a healthier balance where you can go and recharge and live your life a little bit. And in doing that, it becomes more sustainable. Their goal originally was we need to kill ourselves for another 10 years and then sell it and hopefully make enough money off of that to never have to work again. And now kind of pivot to get yourself in relation to the business whereby you can do the stuff that you're really good at and you love. You've decentralized control enough with good culture and organization to help it continue to scale. And then maybe in 10 years you sell it, or maybe you continue to grow it, or maybe it passes down to your kids because it's not running you anymore. And so we had that in a conversation. But again, I'm not the person who does that. So I've interviewed some consultants with them and some coaches, debrief with them afterwards until they found a couple they liked. And then they're on a 6-month trajectory right now to do all of these things so that in the next 12 to 18 months, they've got more time in their life. They've increased their profit by 100%. They're able to pull more money out of the company and they can diversify away from the company and start to build up different assets so they don't rely entirely on the business. So that's kind of 2 examples where I've sort of gone in and had these conversations and looked at like, well, what does your life look like and where are the areas? And then at some point in each of those cases, it'll get back to here's the in-house stuff we do. We're going to manage your portfolio. We're going to look at tax and estate planning. We're going to project out the front window. But maybe for a little while, there's more of a consulting and bringing people together approach that gets them to that stage where, okay, now we need, Kevin, your direct help in the things that you do in-house.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty, I think that's pretty fantastic. Like I know as a business owner, or you don't have to be a business owner, but maybe a leader in an organization, you have so many things zipping around at you and so many different people trying to sell you things, especially in the financial or insurance world. So it's enough to make your head spin a little bit. So sometimes when it comes to things like money, which can be uncomfortable, you tend to just not give it the same amount of attention as you give to, I don't know, your content creation or something that you love doing, right?
Yeah.
Which, is maybe the great irony of the whole thing, right? It's the core of this whole business of entrepreneurship, right?
That's it. You want to do the thing that you love doing the most and the thing that you're best at. And in most cases, it's not managing money. Otherwise, you'd probably be in the same line of work I was. But then it's conflicting because you want it done well. And so I think finding someone that you can partner with so that you can say, I'm going to do the thing that I do really well. I can have a couple meetings a year and sort of point contact with this person who understands me intimately and can bounce ideas off of. It's just having like a CFO, but for your whole life. That I think is paramount. And someone who understands business. Like that's the other thing is in the world of finance, the majority of people in this business don't own a business. So that's where I think there's this big disconnect is you're not necessarily getting advice from your financial advisor on how your business should operate or who to talk to because they don't necessarily have the eyes for that. And so there's this disconnect between the way that you earn your money, how you earn it, and whether you should be spending money reinvesting or what different tools, and then someone over here on the other side who's advising you on wealth, but it's not necessarily connected. And sometimes their advice is conflicted. Our industry, by and large, gets paid. If you're an insurance advisor, you get paid when you sell an insurance product, not when you give advice, and maybe part of that advice is insurance. If you're managing portfolios, you get paid based on the amount of money someone has with you. So lo and behold, most of the advice you get from people is do the thing I do. Give me your money. Whereas I'm finding more often, especially with business owners, the advice is, yeah, in little bits, but like it would make you a lot more money to reinvest in your business or hire this consultant or spend money in marketing over here. And we can have an arrangement where I get paid for the advice I give as a business expense. So I'm sort of part of helping you grow. And that's where I find there is this conflict as well. Is there's not a lot of examples out there in our industry where people are partnering with business owners and saying, I'm here to advise you on your wealth. And maybe sometimes, if not more often in the beginning, my advice isn't going to be take all of your profit and put it in an investment portfolio with me, because earning 6% or 7% or 8% isn't going to be the same as earning 50% by doubling your business revenue year over year. So that, I think, it's a novel idea of having someone that you can bounce your ideas off of, but I don't think it exists very often because it puts people at conflict. I want to tell you what good advice is, but if I only get paid if you do this particular thing. So I think that's it, right? It's allowing you, the business owner, or any business owner, to stay in their lane of the thing that they love doing, because that's where you're going to earn the most money. But having enough trust in someone to give them advice, to bounce ideas off of them, to help them navigate year over year as their life changes, so that they don't feel like I'm ignoring the money part.
Love that. Well, Kevin, you certainly convinced me. So thank you very much for your time. And yeah, hopefully people who watch this or listen to this find some gems in there, and it really helps them out. So thanks a lot for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for talking to me.
Hey, thanks for watching The Culture Hack. Do you want to chat culture and engagement? Give us a call and come on the show.